the Roma, the neighborhood Roma.
Okay.
I was in a restaurant, in a sushi restaurant, and there is a lot of people talking in English because they
Right.
are black women and men and everything except so they are speaking they was they were speaking in English.
Much better.
But when you go even just walk for these type of areas in the city, Roma, Condesa, uh, Reforma Avenue, you you are uh, going to listen to people next to you talking in English a lot.
Right. Why do you think is that?
Well, those are the best areas in the city.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they are also maybe a little bit more. Um, there is more security there, and there are a lot of uh, hotels
Mm-hmm.
close, and even hotels and everything. So I think that the people that come to the country, it's a good place to stay because there's everything.
Mm-hmm.
There's restaurant, there is hotels, hostels, museums, you know, and I think that it's a convenient place to stay when you are extranjero. Sorry, I forgot the name.
Yeah. Also, I want you to pronounce this word. First, let's take this one.
Okay.
Pronunciation.
Muslim?
We have three
Muslim.
syllable. Syllable number one.
Okay. M, me,
And what happened to this?
yeah. I don't know.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
Me,
So this
no.
consonant has an independent sound. Oh, wait. There's no audio, right?
I can hear it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Y.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Mm, mm, yeah. No.
Of course,
Yeah.
don't ignore the u.
Uh, yeah.
Okay.
Mm,
U.
yeah.
Stronger. Mu.
Milk.
Exactly.
Okay. Milk.
Number two.
Milk. Missing? S?
E.
Yes.
Strong vowels. E.
Monsieur?
Exactly.
Si?
And the last one is
Okay.
weak.
Um,
The
okay.
second syllable
So,
is a strong one.
museum.
And the three syllables? What happened to the
Milk.
three syllables?
Milk. Museum. Museum.
I want to hear three
Because
syllables.
the
You are
strong word
pronouncing
is
two. Three syllables, not two. Syllable number one.
okay. Milk.
It's not male. Mew.
Si?
Mew.
Milk.
Uh-huh.
Milk.
Exactly.
Milk.
Z.
Milk. Si? Museum.
Um.
Museum.
Separated syllables.
Museum.
I hear two syllables. I want to hear
Museum.
three.
Mm, music,
Okay.
museum, museum.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Don't join these two. This
no.
is not one syllable. These are two syllables, two independent syllables. Zium, zium, zium.
Okay. Music.
Exactly.
Museum.
Mm, mu-
Museum.
I want to hear you.
museum,
Separate museum.
museum, museum,
Museum. Exactly.
museum,
Yes. Because you are adding the stress.
museum.
You are putting in the first syllable that is in the second one.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. Okay.
The stress is in Z.
Mhm. Mu-
Museum.
museum.
Much better.
Okay.
Much better. What a difference.
Yeah.
What a difference. And extranjero is foreign,
Ah, yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So of course, when you are a foreign, that area
Alright.
is good. Now, in the case of, for example, you, Sophie, you often visit those zones, right? Those areas like Condesa, Roma, Reforma, the three areas that you mentioned, you frequently go there, right?
Yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah.
What about Louis? How frequent do you go there? Because I understand that you're much farther.
So about in which places do I have listen people speaking English?
Well, okay. First, where do you hear American people or people talking in English in Mexico City?
Okay, in my case, I think in the downtown, but it's more frequent also in Roma neighborhood. I think
Exactly. So you agree with Sophie?
yes, because I work in Reforma.
Oh, really?
Yes, I think 2 blocks near of from the Angel
Oh,
Independent
wow.
this monument.
Mm-hmm.
So in my case, uh, if I walk, I walk very near from the American U.S. Embassy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there are 3 points in which I have listen people speaking English very near from the U.S. Embassy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people speaking English, obviously.
Yes. Yes, of course.
And the second point I think is in Reforma in general,
Mm-hmm.
because there are many are named headquarters.
Sure.
So there are many foreign company headquarters.
Totally. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so for example, there is Japanese or Chinese people or French people
Mm-hmm.
which use English for communication here in Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
even when their accent is maybe so, a little weird, strange, but they use English. Uh,
Precisely.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
for speaking. And near from my office, there are many Airbnb locations.
Sure.
So there are also foreign people from different countries.
Mm-hmm.
So they also use English even for buying simple things like tamales, for example.
Right.
There are
Exactly.
tamales or chilaquiles. What is the name? Uh, I don't know what is stores provided. How could I name?
No, they're
Uh,
just street
food trucks.
sellers.
What? So
Or food trucks. It can be a food truck. Well, because it's not a truck,
no,
right?
no, it's not precisely.
But you
Maybe
can
a truck
call
or a
street
wagon.
sellers.
Okay, yes,
Yeah,
sailors.
street sellers. That can be a good name for them.
So they go for a lunch there and use English and
Yeah,
kind of a strange Spanish maybe.
and kind of a strange Spanish. Exactly. That's exactly the thing. Well, you mentioned something interesting because Sophie was talking about vacation, but now you are talking about work. There is a massive difference between one and another. And that's precisely the second one is the one that is happening like very in very notoriously in the city. There is a lot of American people that after the pandemic started living in Mexico City. They moved to Mexico City. They changed their place of residence because of course their work, their jobs allow them to do that. I mean, a place
Yes,
with a very good internet and you have an office.
yes, because Mexico City is inexpensive in comparison with their origin countries.
Precisely.
So, for example, my boss is uh, I don't know if it is I think it's Lebanese, Lebanese, Lebanese. So I'm not completely sure.
let me check. People, what's the country?
Lebanon.
No, but in Spanish, in English.
Uh, uh, that's an
How do you
interesting.
call? Yes, of course.
Lebanon? No, no, I don't know.
Lebanon. With an Lebanon is the name.
Ah, Lebanon. Yes,
So the
she's from there.
nationalism, technical official languages, Lebanese.
Lebanese. Oh, okay.
Lebanese.
Yes, he's Lebanese. Yes,
Okay.
and he's in three different countries. The first one is in Lebanon. The second one is in US, and the last one is here in Mexico.
Watch out
But
for your structure. Eh? If you're talking about his life, you need to use have plus past participle. He has lived in
he
three
has
different
lived.
countries.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
so he has lived in these three countries,
Exactly.
but for different. But he continues traveling among them.
Okay.
But when he is in here in Mexico City, he is for a long time, maybe 3 months or something like this.
So he is normally? Does he come for 3 months and then he leaves? Or
Uh,
what do you mean? Because if you're talking in present, I understand that it's a
yes,
frequent
yes, yes.
trip.
This is something that is continues happening.
Okay.
But
So,
even when he can work remotely,
mhm,
because he's not from Mexico City and he has business in Lebanon,
mhm,
he lives for 3 months here in Mexico City and attend their business. His business in a remote way.
okay, okay.
So, and this could be in the opposite way. He could be living and working, attending his business in maybe in Lebanon
Wow.
and attending Mexico business in a remote way, but it's not. It's in the opposite way.
Thanks to
He
the
lives
internet.
many months here in Mexico and attend their business in his origin
In
country
his home.
remotely.
Hmm.
I don't
That's
know.
something amazing. I mean, thanks to the internet that we can do that. I mean, it's crazy how you can actually be omnipresent now. Like literally, you're living in one side, but you're having business in another place. I mean, the only I have fantasized with that. You know, it's like Imagine like teaching English from Europe, but of course the schedule will be impossible, you know? I mean,
Yes, I think it could be difficult.
yeah, totally. I mean, that's the thing that I imagine with him. He has to organize his times very, very well because it's Lebanon. I mean, it's not the same schedule at all. But that's the interesting part of internet connection, like how easy it is to carry your laptop and now you're working from a very different place, but you're still working for the same company and you can do your activities with normality. No, that's what we call a digital nomad. A digital nomad is a person who travels but takes their job with them.
For example, in my previous job,
Mhm.
my boss, her name is Vanessa.
Okay.
We everyone uh, were working uh, in a remote way,
Mhm.
but she was continuously moving her position. For example, 2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks in
Mhm.
Oaxaca in a
Wow.
Airbnb, and the next month, I don't know, Guanajuato and something like this. But
Wow, that's
he was
amazing.
never in the same city
Hmm.
working.
Yeah, she was traveling all around Mexico.
Yes,
That's great. That's
he
great.
leveraged this opportunity, and
Hmm.
in terms of the work, it doesn't matter because he
Hmm.
was connected every time.
Every single time, exactly. That's the
Yes,
thing. You know your responsibilities, and you can enjoy life at the same time. I mean, that's the positive thing. No.
uh, that was very interesting.
Hmm. That's the thing. Well, that's precisely what the context that I wanted to talk to you about. That's what you are going to see here. The first video that I'm going to show you is, um, a little segment of a morning show in the United States, very popular. And the second video is from the news. The first one is a much like a surprising tone, and the second one is more informative. I am interested in making you watch both. The first one for context, and the second one for vocabulary. The second one has a lot of very useful vocabulary, and you will see the contrast between the first video and the second. The first video is very informal speech, when the second one is much more formal. So that's going to be a very interesting analysis that we are going to touch. Okay? So I suggest you take some notes. I suggest you carry a pen with you so you can take notes on some questions that you have, vocabulary that you didn't understand, or stuff that you want to check. Okay? Let's begin.
Rapid growth of remote work. The rapid growth of remote work has given people more freedom to pick the places they like to live and earn a living. And lately, more Americans have been choosing Mexico, including Mexico City. CBS News correspondent Enrique Acevedo reports on how the sprawling capital, with its culture, great food, and affordable real estate, has become a work-from-home paradise, and shows us how the new arrivals are being welcomed.
The sights, sounds, and flavors of Mexico City are tempting for people looking to live the Mexican dream, like John Hyatt.
The cafes, the restaurants, everything, just seeing the food on the plates and people sipping coffee. It's a very pleasurable experience to just be walking up and down the street.
Born in North Carolina, Hyatt helps U.S. and Canadian firms that are currently manufacturing in China relocate to Mexico. And it's not just companies looking to come here. Mexico is now a top destination for young professionals who work remotely.
Technology has absolutely made Mexico City and living down here much easier. We talk about things like rideshare apps. We have all of that.
The influx of American expats is transforming some of Mexico City's most traditional neighborhoods. But some say the change was already underway.
So what I'm hearing is that the pandemic didn't really start that. It just, like with everything else, accelerated.
Yeah, accelerated. That's the perfect. It just threw some gas on the flames. It was going to happen anyway.
Rents have soared in Colonia Roma, a quiet, walkable neighborhood in a city tortured with bumper-to-bumper traffic. Here, old world charm is fading. In its place, award-winning restaurants and hip coffee shops where customers speak English more than Spanish.
Our cultures are kind of merging in many ways. Mexico is becoming more Americanized, and the United States, Americans are taking a lot more interest in Mexican culture and cuisine.
Most locals welcome the new arrivals and their dollars with characteristic Mexican warmth. But tensions are growing around what some are calling gentrification.
I think there's a positive and negative to all of this that you're mentioning, and yes, it's not just Mexico, right? That's being gentrified, as you say. There's many cities. I think that some of the positives, I think that they drive economy. I think people will get paid higher salaries.
Alexandra Demu is the founder of Welcome Home Mexico, a relocation and real estate service. She helps expats with everything from lease negotiations to school interviews for their children. She says business has been booming since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, with no signs of slowing down.
Now we have younger Americans that can work remotely, looking for a better quality of life, and they're coming now to Mexico City.
And when you say a better quality of life, what is it about Mexico City that Americans like so much?
They love the climate, they love the people, the culture, the food, the beauty. Yes, of course, safety can be an issue. And when I say quality of life, I mean, of course, we can't avoid the fact that your dollar goes a long way in Mexico, no? Yeah. Things are still relatively reasonable in Mexico.
According to State Department data, there are over 1.6 million U.S. citizens living in Mexico. But that number only includes people who have applied for legal residency, which most remote workers don't do. Mexico City's tourism agency says that just in the first half of this year, over 1.9 million foreigners arrived at the city's international airport, spending almost $2 billion on hotel stays in the capital.
Mexico has always been an important destination for U.S. travelers, as I'm sure you know. And I have to say, our Mexican hosts are incredible.
Catherine Powell is the global head of hosting for Airbnb, where she oversees the host insights and research team. She says more people are visiting Mexico and staying for longer periods of time.
So we've seen an incredible growth in long-term stays in particular. So these are stays over 28 days or more. And you mentioned Mexico. I mean, Mexico, now 1 in 5 of their nights booked are for long-term stays.
In 1978, the Mexican poet Octavio Paz said, "In general, Americans have not looked for Mexico in Mexico. They have looked for their obsessions, enthusiasms, phobias, hopes, and interests." Nearly half a century later, many wonder if this might still hold true for Mexico's newcomers. For CBS Saturday Morning, Enrique Acevedo, Mexico City.
I did not realize that 1.6 million U.S. citizens lived in Mexico, and they say that's an undercount.
Right, because that's the ones who registered to be living there, not going on tourist.
And it's not just happening in Mexico. I mean, I was in Europe. It's happening in Italy. It's happening in Greece. It's happening in Portugal. They say more Americans are buying property now than other Europeans in that nation.
Well, and you even look, especially obviously the pandemic impact of people saying I can work remotely. This now is, I would rather be here than living over here or changing your cost
of living.
Yeah.
Well, work. Next week's show, live from Mexico City.
Let's do it.
First.
I'm in.
It's not going to happen.
No.
I mean, we'd like it to.
Right.
All right. What did you understand? What was the video about? Let's begin with Sophie.
Well, they talking about how American people like, many Americans like, live in Mexico City because it is a city that has everything there. They mentioned the main thing they like. It's food, culture, people, and that you can have almost everything that you want. There are a lot of options, and of course that the after the pandemic times, it is easier to come to Mexico or to live in other places or to move from your resident place. Yeah, I also surprised about how many Americans live here. I didn't imagine that they will be like a million, or it's yeah, normally, because normally you think that people don't want to live in Mexico, but I think that it's because we think that our country or our city is it's a bad thing, and any place in out to the Mexico is better,
Right.
especially United States. So you can imagine that someone that live or born in the United States wants to come to live here because it's better in a food, in a culture. Well, they think that, and they are here. So yeah, I think that in general they it's the general idea of the video.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a question. The last
So,
woman that was interviewed,
the last woman that was
she
interviewed,
was
okay?
like the blood one.
Yeah.
She has like a British accent, right? Because she
Okay.
speaks.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand very well what she said.
Oh, really? So her accent really affected what you understood.
Yeah,
Interesting. Interesting.
yeah. They. I think that that people that talk in English but with a British accent, they talk like a, I don't know. It seems like a French, uh, yeah, like a French accent, but in English. It's
Ha.
they pronounce the
Yes.
words in a
Differently.
particular way. Uh,
Mm.
uh,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's about accent. You need to be familiar with the standard way of pronunciation so you can understand both. The thing is, pronunciation has always been an issue. If we don't pronounce words correctly and if we don't stop or slow down to check the correct pronunciations, for example, what happened with the museum before, we need to really, really get familiar with the standard way so we can understand other variations. So I think the problem here is not the accent, it's just the standard pronunciations are not clear yet, and that's the reason other accents can be a difficult part. So definitely, in order
yeah,
to understand this woman,
you're
we
right.
need to understand what is the correct pronunciation or what is the standard pronunciation of the word, and then be familiar with some vocabulary also, because it was not only the accent, it was also she was one of the most important uh, heads on Airbnb. So we are talking about technical English. One thing is the accent, the other thing is vocabulary. She's speaking very technical English, and probably some of the words that she mentioned, you are not familiar yet with those words. Okay, I'm gonna teach you some things. For example, she was using the word stay as a noun. We know stay as a verb, right? But she was using stay as a noun, which is a period of saying, right? Look at this example. I enjoyed my stay in Prague. Prague is a city. Of course, we're talking about when you travel when you travel to a country and you stay, no? Stay as a verb, stay as a noun. One of the things that she's talking about is the duration of stays in her platform. So there was some vocabulary that was not easy, right? Long stay, short stay. There's a lot of interesting stuff when he spoke. So one thing is, yes, the vocabulary. Other thing is the pronunciation, and both of them create confusion if we don't understand any of them. No.
Stay as noun is the Spanish word estaría.
If you want to see it like that, but you remember that Spanish is just affecting your comprehension, which is another problem. If we are thinking in Spanish, then we are not going to get all the information.
Yes.
Don't think about that. Better think that stay is equivalent to synonyms for stay. Let's say synonyms, thesaurus. Stay as a noun. Synonyms: holiday, vacation, break, stop. You see? I would say stopover. Stopover is a good one too.
Yes, I think holiday and vacation are not necessarily always synonym for stay, right?
Totally, exactly. Well, not in the modern days, no? The way you carry your job with you.
You can go for a long stay working, I don't know, in Mexico City, but they are not precisely a vacation.
Exactly, that's not precisely a vacation. Now, and especially nowadays.
Yes.
Especially nowadays. So definitely this should be more like visiting, like a visit. This is the first time I see this word. I'm not familiar with this. Sojourn. To stay for a short time in a place away from your home. Interesting.
It's something like French, right?
Yeah, it looks like French, but according to this entry, it is more like you see this vocabulary and novels and this type of language that is like romantic, this type of thing. So it's more like visit. Visit is the way. So anyway, the woman is talking about that, and the pronunciation, precisely the pronunciation of the way that she speaks can affect a little bit the way we understand. So we need to get familiar with phonetics. Phonetics is the issue in this case. Okay?
Yeah.
What about...
Yeah, I think so. I remember No, go, teacher. I just talk about the first joke that we see the 2 weeks ago. Yeah, that with the joke that is meow. You need to understand the basic pronunciation of the word to understand that the girl does a variation with meow or. I remember that. It's just my comment.
Excellent reference. The meow when she said the joke is because in Irish English the H disappears, but if we don't understand or we understand that how has the same phonetics, automatically it matches and it's funny. So the same thing happens here. There is a standard way and then there are variations. Excellent reference. That was a very, very good reference. Okay. And what about Luis? Did you get any information on the woman? Do you have the same problems as Sophie when it comes to accents?
About the accent, what specific problem? In general, understanding new accent.
Yeah, like understanding British people, for example.
I think, like, in my experience, for example, I have not interacted with British people, but for example, I have been working many times with Indian people.
Oof.
So
That's a
I
different thing.
think it's super crazy first because sometimes the communication, the networks are not good. So you'll listen them very far. So that's the
Yeah.
first problem. And the second one, the accent that, and sometimes the words that they use are not clear, because I think it's a kind of combination between the English, the Indian English, and in many cases, English for them is also a second language. So
That's what I was going to tell you. Exactly.
yes, they speak Hindi, or there is other in Hyder. Many people in technological industry,
Hmm.
they come from Hyderabad,
Okay.
so they speak other language. I don't remember in this moment which one,
Mhm.
but it doesn't matter. This English is the second language. So
Yes. Mhm.
it's a strange mixture, and it's complicated.
Very, very, very. In this case, that's what I was going to tell you. When you mentioned that it's a second language for them, then of course we can understand that there is a massive cultural gap between what you can understand and what they understand. Because there are two problems. Number one, phonetics. They don't study phonetics, but they study English. So they are not going to pronounce correctly, but they are going to try to use correct structures, no? Probably their structures are right, probably their structures are not right. And that can be a third problem, no? So it's number one, when they study English, they don't study phonetics, they don't study the way to pronounce. So probably when we, Mexican people, speak English, we probably sound similar. This is something that we need to understand. When you are talking, or when you are trying to learn another language, you are learning a language for the ears of a foreign, not for you. You know what I mean? That's the reason I insist so much in the phonetics. Number two, the vocabulary that they use, the words or the translations are going to be close and connected with their culture. What's the meaning of this? Let's try, for example, an example that you are using right now, Luis. You are saying we hear, no, we listen. We listen, 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 listen. And you are using the word listen a lot. Why not using hear? What's the difference between listen and hear? Are we familiar with that?
Uh, I to remember that listen is used when you have the intention to when you have the intention to receive the message,
Okay, okay, okay.
and here is when in the when you don't have that intention. For example,
Oh, can be okay.
in this moment, we are we are interacting,
Uh,
and we are paying attention for what Sofia and Fernando is speaking about.
yeah,
But
so you are listening.
yes, we are listening. But for example, when you are walking, I don't know, in Reforma, there are a lot of people walking at the same time. and speaking sorry with their I don't know, with
Language.
any other, and you are not precisely paying attention to other conversation. So in that case, you are hearing.
In that case, you're hearing, no? Well, that difference, that precise difference, you know it right now because you are an upper intermediate speaker. At the beginning, it was very difficult to really understand it because in Spanish we have only one word for these two words in English. Do you agree? Which is escuchar. So, what happens when an Indian person wants to translate to English? An Indian person will have 4 or 5 words for the same concept in English. So the selection of words are going to be very, very, very distant from real English, from English as a first language. You see what I mean?
I have remembered they many people speak Telugu.
Telugu, that's the language?
Yes, that is the name of the language, Telugu.
Okay.
So Telugu is the first language for many people in Hyderabad, and they learn English as second language.
That's right.
So
And
it's a problem
probably
because it's Telugu, Spanish, English, American English, Indian English, and they refer when we are talking with them, they refer to us as Spanish accent. When we are speaking English, they say, it's difficult because we are speaking with Indian accent and you have a Spanish accent, so your Spanish accent is complicated.
for them it's the same.
Yes.
It's reciprocal. The confusion is completely both sides.
Yes.
No? That's a massive issue. It's both have a responsibility. Both sides. In Hindi and Spanish speakers need to pronounce correctly so we can agree and we can find a centric point. There is an expression in English called to meet someone halfway. It's a phrase to meet someone halfway. To reach an agreement with somebody by giving them part of what they want. You know? So one person needs to give a little bit of their effort, the other person needs to give a little bit of their effort, and then you can meet halfway and create communication. But if a Hindi person will never study phonetics and the Spanish person will never study phonetics, problems occur. That's the reason with communication as a second language. We need to be more empathic with the person that is listening to you.
It's ni tú ni yo.
Literally.
Yeah.
That's right. All right. Take a note on this idiomatic expression while Jessie pass attendance. Hello, Jess.
Hey, thank you. Morning.
Good morning, girl.
I will take attendance. Victor?
Absent.
All right. Robert? Roberto?
Yes.
Luis?
Luis is over here. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Yes.
Hi, thank
No
you.
te escuchas tanto, Jessie. Sube tu micrófono, acércate.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Luis. Sophie? Good morning. Morning, Sophie. Thank you. Fernando?
Chucho absent.
Bye, and
It's absent.
Okay. So that's all. Thank you, everyone, and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Good day.
Thank you. Have a nice
day. Thank you.
All right. So what was the thing? Yes, accents, pronunciation, and anyway, not only talking about the accent, but about the video. What did you understand? What did you learn from the video, Luis?
I I I I can take two. Well, there are many interesting things, but two in particular for me was that the first one was about gentrification.
Yes.
In recent days, I have read in the newspaper a column about this term, and this search.
Search. I search, research, and these searches.
Searches because there in social media was a picture. I think it was. I don't remember if it was a French girl or American girl. I don't know. A foreign girl, and she took a picture using the cable bus. Yes, the cable bus, and this column was talking about that many people in social media were talking that this could be a problem because this, for example, cable bus could transform a particular zones like Iztapalapa or something like this, and these areas could suffer the same phenomenon like the downtown or Roma neighborhood.
Okay. Oh my
So
God.
many people from other countries could be find attractive these new areas from the city, and eventually, how could I say? Yes, cause that people living here change their home
Of course.
eventually.
And they move these people to an area where they can afford or they can pay rents and housing and living expenses, uh, because they cannot. Some people cannot pay that amount if they are near these areas.
Yes, for example, they were talking about that in this moment, many people is from other countries is coming to Roman neighborhood or downtown, but eventually the uh, there there won't be more places here.
Yeah.
So they will looking for new areas and other no classic areas, for example, Iztapalapa, Azcapotzalco, something like it.
Right.
They could be attractive eventually.
Totally. And imagine being Iztapalapa a centric place, like a touristic area. That's something that we cannot imagine right now, but that's probable.
But for example, in near, for example, near from Tlalpan, for example, Portales and Nativitas, if you walk on these streets, you could find that many old houses are being destroyed, and they are building new. What is the name?
Apartment complexes.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
new apartment complexes, and people is moving there. Even when
People are moving
the
there.
maybe even when the neighborhood is not precisely nice,
It's becoming nice.
but it's becoming nice.
It's crazy. The rents in that area. I was looking for a rent there because I wanted to be near Del Valle, and it's crazy high. The costs are really up in the sky.
Yes, and maybe 5 years ago, you go there, and you 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 left that place running. But
Exactly,
now
yeah.
it's changing.
5 years in the past, it was not sorry, it was not safe, was it? 5 years ago?
Yes, maybe 5 years ago or even more.
Wow,
It was considered dangerous in general.
that's
Tlalpan
amazing.
Avenue.
I cannot believe that. I cannot believe that because today you walk there and it's full of very nice people. Really.
Yes, but now, but previously, oh, come on.
Wow,
I
that's
worked there. I don't know. I was 25 years old when I was working there,
mhm.
and this happened 10 years ago.
Okay.
And it was dangerous walking on the night.
Wow, Luis, you gave me a surprise. I just cannot believe that. I mean, I lived there for a couple of years, and there was really nice people over there. Really, I cannot believe what you're saying. That's amazing.
Yes,
How the landscape changes thanks to gentrification. And
gentrification. Yes.
and have you seen the where is Reforma Norte? Do you know where Reforma Norte is today?
Yes. For Sophie or for me?
No, anyone. Like, have you heard the cost of living or renting an apartment in Reforma Norte? Where is Reforma Norte? Do you know?
Reforma Norte, yeah, is more near to I it's Tepito, something like this.
Exactly, man. Tepito is now. They are changing the name of Tepito to Reforma Norte because they want. Yes, really. You can look for apartments in different websites. And when they say Reforma Norte, you look at the map and it's exactly in the center of Tepito. And you're like, bro, Reforma Norte, that was not the name 2 years ago. 2 years ago was Tepito, don't enter there, don't go there because that's the place of, yeah, it's a different world, right? But today they are trying to put it together because they now see that American people wants to rent near downtown. So they are changing the name to Reforma Norte. The name is not official.
I remember a meme. Maybe this is not the precise translation. I don't know, but it looks false or something.
Okay.
When you read Reforma Norte.
Ah, okay. I don't know,
No lo sé,
Rick.
Rick, parece falso.
Yes. Yep. Welcome to the future. Today, Tepito is going to become a very nice place where tourists can go and stay for a long time, for long periods of time. What a transformation! No, that's crazy.
Yes.
I think it is also because they're more secure in the city. The city is more secure now,
Safe.
a little bit. I mean, I just safe, yeah. I remember that when I was younger, when I was a kid, go to Tepito or go to this place, massive commercial places like La Merced, um, Sonora Market, and everything. The downtown, it was very dangerous, and people used to go there just to buy things. But nowadays, I have gone to those places, and for example, the downtown, now it's a touristic place. But some years ago, it didn't happen. It was dangerous, and you only go there if you want something, or if you have to buy something. And now there's restaurants, cafeterias, the street is better. There is also like tables and chairs there to sit and drink a coffee and everything. So I think that the city has changed, and now it's better. All those places are more safe to go, and that's the reason many people, included the foreign people, go there often.
I think it's the opposite, eh? I think it's all the people, including the
Yeah.
locals, want to go there. Because in the past it was not, yes, it was touristic, but the locals didn't want to go. We didn't like to go. Today is the opposite. Today is, okay, so there are so many tourists that it became safe, and now we want to go, you know? It's amazing how it's literally the foreign people transforming the areas. That's just gentrification. In the past, of course, one of the biggest icons in Mexico from all around the country, all around the world, sorry, is the Fine Arts Palace next to Alameda, Angel of Independence, and Reforma. And no, what's the name of this? Revolution. Those are the three places that you will always find people taking pictures. And then downtown Madero Avenue has always been full with the tourists. So they have been expanding all the way to Tepito. And they have been transforming Tepito in a crazy way. That's something that I cannot believe. So the locals decided that now it's nice to go to Tepito, to go to dance reggaeton drinking gomichelas in Tepito, because now it's super funny and you can find a lot of foreign people, gringos and Canadians, and a lot of like people from all over the world. Germany, there's a lot of Germany people in Mexico City. There's a lot of Portugal people in Mexico City, and they are visiting these places, making them safe. They are making them safe.
I think also Chinese people is coming.
Oh, like yes,
a
of
lot.
course, a lot of Chinese people, and they live there. They are actually moving very, very close to Madero Avenue. No, so
in the media they mentioned that, for example, American people were transforming the places where they are arriving. And I think that maybe this could be an initial phenomenon, but I think eventually culture people transform foreign people.
Oh, definitely.
And I think they could eventually become Mexican, different Mexican, but Mexican finally.
I agree with you so much. Is they come to transform a little bit, but then at the end they adapt, and we consume the way they were, and we transform them.
When I was in a Chinese store, I'm not precisely. My mom was there, and it was funny because the owner was Chinese.
Okay.
And he has a Mexican worker. And this the Chinese owner was trying to offer a bag, yes, for my mom. And he was trying to express that the bag had good quality, high quality. But they was using I don't know if this is the media to use to mention the word or maybe it is better to write it.
Okay.
Do I repeat? Chingon.
Okay. So the Chinese person was saying that.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
this fact is very, very chingon. Repeating and repeating that continuously this word. And my mom got like surprised, man.
Of course.
But this Chinese owner was using if this word were very common in Spanish, so very normal.
Exactly. Somebody told him that it was the way we say that something is of good quality, and he stayed with that vocabulary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when the Chinese owner saw the face of my mom, surprised face of my mom,
He stopped.
He stopped
Of
and
course.
he turned his face to the Mexican worker and say, ah, but this word, this word, it's not a bad word, right? And and
Well.
and my mom, no, it's not a good word. And
Either.
he said, no, but she, the Mexican worker, said that it's a nice word, and my mom, no, she lied you.
Yeah, somebody lost their job that day.
Yes, I think so.
That's very sad. That's amazing. Well, that's our curious Mexico City. We are full of different people all around the world. And I think that's the reason I thought this topic was very, very interesting. We're gonna be talking about that during the week, and there's a lot of vocabulary to learn. Okay, so let's keep on going tomorrow. Very good job. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay.
See you tomorrow. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you, teacher. Can you send us the video?
Sure. Let me say to you.
Yes, please.
Just right
Please.
here. No problem, girl. All right. Check your video. I'll see you next time. Bye.
See you.
Bye. See you.
Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.